Hello there, friends and neighbors. Thanks for coming back to my channel. This is me, Stella Hendricks, and today we are going to start reading Rhinestone Confidential. I am really excited about this one because the author is actually my very good friend, Elaine. When the author was handed the opportunity for her dream job, she almost threw it away with her nonchalance. Luckily, she came to her senses and the curtain rose to reveal the backstage world of glittery showgirl reviews where only a privileged few were allowed. In Rhinestone Confidential, Elaine remembers the days past when Reno was a casino town full of shows. She recounts the good times and bad as Sammy's showroom became the new venue for cabarets and headliners. Her stories are often humorous and chock full of juicy backstage tidbits. From feathers to fishnets, Elaine's story is a testament to the power of perseverance and a tribute to the talents and stage presence of the oft-revered showgirl. I'm very excited to jump into this one. I was so cold a minute ago and now I'm getting hot. Dreadful. The sun does seem to be coming out. It was raining earlier. Rhinestone Confidential, My Life Backstage in a Casino Showroom by E.M. Starr. For my mom, Marie Antoinette, also known as Annette or Dolly, who gave me both the love of reading and the passion for the performing arts. Introduction, setting the stage. In 1992, I was hired to work backstage for Harrah's Reno in its stage wardrobe department. I became part of the crew running the shows in the former headliner room, which was eventually renamed Sammy's Showroom. The popular cabaret room in Harrah's had been shuttered, and the showroom remaining would be used for both showgirl reviews and headliner acts sharing the same stage. My nights were magical. I had entered a world I could hardly believe existed in my small town. I worked side by side with incredibly talented people and made memories I will always cherish. I also had some nights I would rather forget. Here, for the record, is the mostly wonderful and sometimes terrible history of my time working in Sammy's showroom. Oh, that reminds me, the beautiful girl on the front is the author's daughter, also my personal friend named Sammy. Oh, and Sammy is now one of the co-producers of the show that I co-founded with Scarlet Letter in Reno, the Sweet and Lethal Burlesque at the Polo Lounge. She is now one of the leaders of that. So that's just another fun little tidbit in there. Chapter 1, Audition. Can I repair what? I asked. Do you know how to repair fishnet tights? Repeated the stage manager. Damn. I was usually pretty good at bluffing, but this interview question threw me completely off. Despite studying costume design at the University of Nevada, Reno, I had never seen a pair of fishnet tights up close. I imagined it wasn't hard, just sew the hole closed, right? That would be a no, as I would soon find out. I pushed my hair off my neck. I suddenly felt overheated in my light jacket and shrugged it off, draping the silky fabric over the chair. Did you make that? He asked. When I interviewed the wardrobe girl we have now, she said she'd made the jacket she was wearing. She's a talented seamstress and a ceramic artist. Oh, no, I didn't, I said, another blot against me. But I loved the design, so I had to have it. I had figured that I was probably overqualified for the job, so these questions were throwing me off. I wished I had dressed more professionally and scooted closer to the desk, trying to hide my faded jeans, which I knew were not desired interview attire. I had been so busy with my public relations internship and finishing college, I didn't see how I could even accept this job if it was offered to me, but instinct made me want to ace the interview. I glanced around me, taking in the drab beige walls that blended in with the thin stained carpet. I tried to think of something to say to redeem myself. I do have a lot of sewing experience, though, from working on shows for UNR, I told the stage manager, whose name was Skip. I've also been an assistant designer for shows, collaborating with my professor. He nodded his head and ran his hand through his thinning hair. I didn't have time for my usual interview nerves, which were likely due to a combination of his casual, friendly manner and my lack of hunger for the position. For wardrobe, you not only need to sew, but you need to work as a dresser. Are you familiar with quick changes? I nodded my head, even though I'd never actually done one. But while sewing furiously to get costumes ready for opening night at UNR, I had overheard talk of dressers being needed to help with performers' costume changes. I figured that was good enough. I think you might be a good fit. Let's take a tour backstage and I'll show you the wardrobe room, and then we can watch the show together. I followed Skip out of his office and we clanked down the metal stairs to a door where he tapped out a code to gain entry. As we rounded the corner, I watched as he picked his way carefully through the stretched out legs of the dancers splayed out on the worn carpet of the hallway floor. I did the same, trying not to trip. "Hi, Skip," said one of the dancers, looking up at him, her eyes framed by enormous false lashes. She stretched both legs together in front of her and pointed her toes so they touched the chipped paint of the wall. "This is Elaine. I'm giving her a tour backstage. She may be joining us." Wearing baggy sweatshirts, their legs encased in those aforementioned fishnets, the girls chattered as they warmed up. Their makeup appeared cakey under the harsh fluorescent lights. Still following Skip, I turned the corner, walking into a sea of black that was a group of stage techs, all dressed in the required dark clothing of backstage workers, and talking in the hall leading to the wardrobe. Pardon-moi. I hadn't been backstage for a few semesters, and I was feeling the buzz of excitement again. I didn't realize how much I'd missed it. We stopped at a tiny room, a closet really, where a slender woman was bent over a sewing machine. Racks of brightly colored thread hung on the wall, ready when needed to match any costume. "This is Joan," Skip told me. "She would be training you if you get the job. She's worked here for years and can show you everything you need to know. You would be sharing the position as the reviews run 6 days a week." Joan gave me a welcoming smile. Her handshake was powerful with a sculptor's strength. She wore a pair of magnifying glasses on a chain around her neck, and I could see her reddish, wavy bob was tinged with gray along the part. "This job can be a lot of work, but we have fun here too," she said, gesturing to the headdresses on the table with its soft plumes of bright pink feathers standing up from a bejeweled crown. "The repairs usually aren't too difficult. I'm just adding some new feathers to replace the ones that broke." Just then, a female dancer burst into the wardrobe room and lifted a dazzling bra off a hook near the door. "Thanks, Joni, you're the best," she shouted over her shoulder as she raced down the hall towards the stairs leading to the stage. I just sewed on some missing jewels for her. We have lots of extras. She opened a drawer and I gazed hungrily upon the twinkling stones. I'd always loved anything sparkly. I didn't hear a thunderous crack overhead, nor did I hear the stun of the bolt that surely must have slammed my dense head as I nodded and smiled politely at Joan. But I knew it was there nevertheless. What a mistake I had almost made. This indeed was an opportunity of a lifetime I had stumbled upon. I'd nearly tossed it away with my lackadaisical attitude. I suddenly realized I badly wanted to be part of this excitement and camaraderie of working backstage. Skip looked down at his watch. "The show's about to start," he said. "I'll take you up to the showroom." "I can't wait." Skip led me through the maze, which was the backstage area, and upstairs to the casino, where a maitre d' in an unflattering shade of seafoam green sport coat led us to a booth that matched his jacket. I sank into the soft cushion and looked around. Cocktail waitresses wearing impossibly short dresses in, you guessed it, that same ghastly green, roamed the U-shaped room taking drink orders. A portrait of Sammy Davis Jr., the showroom's namesake, hung on either side of the back wall, framing the gold entrance doors. Roomy booths lined the back of the room, and the steps led to the center of the room that was 2 long rows of booths with tables and chairs on the 2 bottom levels. The showroom was familiar to me. I had seen the Judds perform here a few years ago and had been a guest for the coveted Mr. Blackwell fashion show. Mr. Blackwell was Richard Blackwell, a famous fashion critic and the creator of the 10 Worst Dressed Women list. I was invited by a friend who had received the comp tickets after gambling away all her money, which meant she now had VIP status. This honor is bestowed upon guests who have spent or lost a certain amount of money in the casino. I still had the little glass shoe they placed at my seat. If losing your life savings is a con to living in a gambling town, it can be offset by the pro of seeing a free show and a party favor. The stage was concealed by a heavy gold curtain. Its swags shimmered under the house lights, building anticipation of what could lie behind it. I learned that this spectacular curtain was called an Austrian puff, which was unique in that it was raised vertically and controlled electronically. When lifted, the scallops would disappear into each other like a reverse waterfall. Stage struck is the early show, said Skip. We have a headliner next, and then afterwards it's the late show called High Voltage, and it's topless. I hope you're okay with that. Finally, a question I felt very confident in answering. Sure, I'm used to seeing performers' bodies when I fit them for costumes at UNR, I said. Plus, I had been to a few topless reviews at other casinos. I didn't see where the semi-nudity added anything to a show, but I knew it was a way for the casino to attract patrons. The lights dimmed and a stern voice overhead announced no photography was permitted. I leaned forward in my seat and felt my heart race in anticipation. I was conscious of Skip sitting next to me, and I wanted to make a good impression as an attentive audience member. The curtain went up, and a line of girls crossed the stage, moving fast and kicking high to Luck Be a Lady from Guys and Dolls. They flirted coquettishly with the male dancers who spun them around, almost skating across the stage floor in their black jazz shoes. The boys were dressed in pinstripe suits, complete with fedoras, tipped down low over their forehead, giving them a rakish air. Big yellow bows attempted to cover the girls' fishnet-covered bottoms exposed by their G-strings. A tiny apron covered their fronts. Stage Struck was billed as a family-friendly show, but it was tame only by Nevada's definition. The Barbie pink and hot orange painted set whimsically showcased Broadway marquees and the backdrop of New York City at night. The dark floor of the stage gleamed under the lights. I found out later the crew had spent 2 days painting over the wooden stage's original natural color with black. The producer of the show I was about to watch said it would work better with their dynamic lighting. Next came a blackout on stage, and I could dimly make out the text rolling sets off and on stage through curtained wings. I heard the opening notes to Cabaret, and the spotlight picked out the singers one by one. Suddenly, the stage was flooded with light, and the scene was filled with girls in bowler hats straddling black chairs with white-gloved jazzed hands snapping to the beat. Their red bow ties matched their fire-engine red lipstick. They kicked and spun with such energy, I was sure I would see a hat or wig fly off. How, I wondered, did their hats and wigs stay on with all the energetic movement? I tried to focus on the show as a whole and not zero in on the costumes, but after my theatrical studies, I would never again view a show through the naive lens of a casual observer as I'd done before. Before I knew it, the show was over, and my hands stung from clapping. Well, what do you think? Skip asked me. Pretty good, huh? We're proud of it. I loved it. I would love to work here. Well, as far as I'm concerned, you have the job, as long as you pass the human resources requirement. The next day, I reported to HR for my drug test. The brusque clerk lifted a handful of my hair off my back and reached underneath to clip off several strands close to my scalp. Luckily, pot had never been my thing. After scorching my lungs and coughing uncontrollably the first time it was offered to me, I never did it again. At high school parties, I held the soggy joint to my lips and pretended to inhale, holding my breath as I passed it on, hoping no one could tell. Skip later joked with me, saying he almost didn't hire me because my name was the same as his then-wife, who sometimes worked as wardrobe relief, and he thought it would be confusing. However, despite both being named Elaine, once my drug test came back clean, I was hired. That's great! This is amazing. I am very excited. Okay, that was chapter 1 of Rhinestone Confidential, and we'll go by chapter until I've got the whole thing read. Thank you so much, friends and neighbors. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Catch you on the flip side.